Good morning, everyone. We are back, Business AF podcast with Chris over there.
Hello.
Can't do that, and our
Oh yeah.
guest Brie Anderson, Brie
Brie Anderson.
Anderson. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us today. We are going to talk about the art of social, and we'll get to what the art is specifically and how you can navigate social during these current times. But I want to check in with everyone because we're um, obviously in a different time now and everyone's virtual. So why don't you go ahead and Chris and just recap what your, really quickly how your day is going or your week is going based on everything that's going on.
Well, for me, it's not much has changed actually because my whole team and I are pretty much virtual.
Hmm.
And we do a lot of our client meetings virtually as well. So like this morning, our client we just had a Google Meets hangout, and then I have two or three other meetings today. That's all through Google Hangouts, which I usually do anyways.
Hmm.
Um, I very rarely do in-person meetings unless if it's required with the
Hmm.
client. But other than that, nothing much has changed for us.
Right. And well,
You
we're
were
not
built
meeting.
for this.
Yeah, we're not meeting in person, so we're not doing our podcast. Sometimes we do it virtually, so
Yeah.
it's you know different.
Actually, the biggest change is a podcast because usually you and I meet up on Tuesdays.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So how about for you,
Bree.
Bree?
Well, I actually teach full time, and so last week we were told that we were going to be remote until April 3rd, and we've kind of just been waiting. Our city actually just put in an ordinance to go to a modified shelter in place, so we are now going to be virtual until May 4th.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, so now just creating a bunch of content for online, trying to figure out how to teach students virtually and make sure that they're still getting all the value from it. It's where everybody is at right now.
What
Just
grade are you teaching?
well, I teach at a tech school, so
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So
Nice.
I have
Adults.
a mix of students too, right? So I was like, well, we could do live Zoom calls, but now some of my students have their kids at home and they have other things they have to take care of. So still
Okay.
trying to figure that out. Yeah.
That's
So,
interesting. I mean, like one way. I mean,
go ahead.
I like Udemy, for example, or
Yeah.
Pluralsight. I don't know if you've ever heard of those sites, but you can check them out and just to get an idea on how they kind of run their curriculum
Right.
on
Right.
there. Yeah, or what's that? Khan Academy as well.
Hmm,
Yeah.
awesome. So, Bree, we're going to talk today about the art of social. And why don't you
Yes.
explain what that means and what you told me? We talked earlier this week about how, that can help everyone and businesses during this
Right
time.
now. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I cannot take credit for this. I'm just going to put this out there. I cannot take credit for this. The
Hmm.
art of social media, it was a question on one of my last exams in college that we hadn't covered, or it wasn't in the book, one of those questions. So they always stick with you, or at least for me, they do. And it was, what does art stand for when it comes to social media? And I was just a really good guesser, so I got it right. But it's always stuck with me because it stands for authenticity, relevancy, and transparency. And so when you take all three of those things into consideration, those are what you should be. They should kind of be like your guiding lights, right? Like, should I post this? Well, I don't know. Is it authentic, relevant, and transparent, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And if you think about like the best performing social media or best performing companies on social media, all of them follow this rule of being authentic, relevant, and transparent.
Hmm.
Southwest Airlines is like the best example.
Yes, I would
You know what I
agree.
mean?
Yeah. So I think, that's obviously really good. A lot of people are now kind of forced to figure out what they should be doing on social because
Right.
it's a weird time. Do you think that, I mean, what is your experience in terms of have you seen any people that are kind of like tone deaf when it comes to how they should adjust to this current situation and how everyone's now online?
Absolutely. Well, Rite Aid just did a whole rebrand in the middle of this crisis, and they sent out a email blast with their rebrand, and their landing page wasn't even up yet. It sent people to a 404. So you're
Oh my
like,
God.
you launch this, you're supposed to be like hyping people up, right? Because that's,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to
At
do
least
that
have the
without.
landing page up with it, right? When you launch
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
right. Yeah, like the basics.
Mhm.
But some of these things, so a lot of social media managers schedule content ahead of time.
Mhm.
And you're starting to see kind of the flaws and those processes. So that's a great thing if you're checking it daily to make sure that what's going out is still authentic, relevant, and transparent in your
Mhm.
times. So like if you just laid off 2,000 workers because now all of a sudden we have this virus and we're not able to pay our employees. If you're sending out something that's like, happy Thursday, what are you doing today? That's not very authentic or
Yeah.
transparent, right? You're making it
Mhm.
seem like everything's business as usual when you just had to lay off 2,000 workers, right?
Right, right.
So checking in on those messages, you have to do
Mhm.
that. And that's not just social media, though. I mean, that's
Right.
all media.
Mhm.
Same thing, magazines, the articles are written for magazines and put to press 3 months in advance.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So, like, making sure that all of that content is still relevant.
Mhm.
So,
So you would say, I mean, for based on that, I could imagine that a lot of people that are familiar with the digital space and kind of processes and stuff that they've been extra
oh,
busy
yeah.
this last couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Marcus Sheridan and Ann Hanley just started doing that LinkedIn live show. Have you seen it?
No,
It's
I
called
haven't seen
like,
it yet.
okay, so it's called Together, and they just talk about business and marketing through this crazy time.
Mhm.
Marcus has been very vocal about the fact that people are afraid to sell right now. People are afraid to do business right now. And
Mhm.
really, the reason is because they weren't prepared for it. There was no plan. There's
Mhm.
never really a plan. It's just like any other kind of crisis moment.
Mhm.
But the reality of it is we all still have to do business. We all still have bills to pay, things that have to
Mhm.
be done.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of why I like to use art essentially as those guiding pillars
Mhm.
for especially when you're making these quick pivots. Like we still have to sell, but how can we do it while still being empathetic to the situation that we're all in right now?
Mhm. Yeah,
Well,
and
that
that's
and they're all trying to figure out how to work from home. So
right. Yeah, right. I think that, it's one of the things that, has benefited people like you and I and Chris who have
absolutely,
been very remote and understand, okay, like we need good Wi-Fi, but we also need to keep with our routines of,
yeah,
working, getting up early, and like I didn't do that today and I'm off. Like I'm like,
yeah,
"Oh man, like I didn't get my coffee before like I started working and now I'm going to take a sip of coffee because it's needed." But like
yeah. So my wife actually is working remote for the first time, so she does tech support for a tax company. And the first day, she like stayed in her pajamas. She was like, "I'm working from home." She was so stoked. And then like 3 o'clock comes around, and she's like, "God, I just haven't woken up." And I'm like, "Dude, you didn't get up and get ready. Like you literally
Yeah.
rolled out of bed and tried to start working. Like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're not gonna wake up.
right,
You have
Yeah.
to,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
Like
have,
every morning, like if I do work from home, I have an office, but I'm the only one from my team that goes into an office, like, because I just like getting
yeah,
out of the house. But um, you have to get ready. Like, just
yeah.
Mhm.
get up and take a shower or do something, go for a
Like
walk,
brush your teeth, dude.
Right? Yeah.
something.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yo, I'm not gonna lie. Like the other day, I didn't brush my teeth till like after lunch. I was like,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
'cause you forgot, right? Like you're just like, "Oh, I
yeah,
got to get to work."
yeah,
And
exactly. I just like got on the computer because I had a 6 a.m. call, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, let's go. And then I just started like going away on the computer,
Yeah.
mhm.
and before I knew it, it was like I just got hungry and I ate, and then I was like, my mouth tastes kind of funny. Like what? Let me brush my teeth real quick.
Well, it's so easy to do that. I mean, we all have, yeah, brush your teeth. We all have clients in so many different time zones too that like we've had to
Yeah,
Yeah.
get used to kind of having like these flexible schedules and like,
Mhm, mhm,
working when you have to work. But it's such a big, you have to set those boundaries. Like,
mhm.
That's a hard thing for people too. I know Brian talked about it in one of his first like work from home video things where he was talking about like if you don't set those boundaries, you're going to burn yourself out too. Like it's so easy, especially with what we do. Everything we do is on our computer and our phones. So it's so easy to just keep doing it and keep doing it. But you're going to take on so much or like expect so much out of yourself that you're just going to burn yourself out. So like you have to follow some sort of schedule, some sort of routine.
Yeah.
I've actually done better being fully remote because teaching, I still have to go in, you know, like however many hours a week. But fully remote, I've done a better job of like Saturday, I didn't touch my computer at all, and I can't even remember the last time I did that.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I need to
But you
get
just
to
have
that
to find
goals.
those blocks.
And I think, you know, I think it's also the reason why I was working this weekend was also to set myself up so that Monday would be super productive. And it was, you know, and
Yeah.
it's knowing and understanding how you work best and
Right.
keeping to that despite everyone else's situation changes. Like my situation has changed a little bit because there's more people at home, and like Chris and I
Yeah.
used to go to the office and like we could talk and bounce ideas up. We can't really do that now. Like the office is still open for us because we have 24/7 access, but who wants to do that? Like there's
Yeah.
nothing open, you know, down there. If we want to
Right.
grab lunch, like you can't, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a different time, and I totally agree with the getting ready thing. A lot of people are like, yeah, pajama work. I'm like, no, it's
No,
actually not that cool. Like
it's not. It's
yeah.
put some pants on, like real pants. Those are,
Yes.
I mean, yeah, pajama pants just don't cut it.
Yeah. So brush your teeth and put your pants on. That's
Yes.
like
Little
the
do we
two
all
main.
know we're all wearing pajama pants right now.
Yeah,
No,
what
I-
you don't know.
Yeah. Hey, it's all in what you actually put out there, and especially if you're on video, so no one really knows. But if your energy is that you have pants on, then great. So
Yeah.
I'm in my
um,
underwear.
we don't need to know that, Chris.
I'm
Thanks.
just kidding.
I have backtracking a little bit and how you got started doing this and kind of really helping other people. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got started teaching, or like how that, how that conversation went in terms of.
Yeah, so that was actually kind of, I kind of stumbled into it. So
Mhm.
I'm 24 and I thought teaching was going to be my retirement job. So that's awkward. I still have a while to go.
Yeah. Well, you could retire early. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know. So I was working at an agency, and because the tech school is a tech school, they require any program that you have has to have an industry advisory team. And what they do is they make sure that the curriculum is staying up to date, right? And so they meet once a semester and they like review the curriculum, make sure like what's going on in class is relevant. Well, they were starting this program and the industry advisory team was coming together to write curriculum and do things like that. And so they reached out to the agency that I was working at the time and asked if anybody would be interested in helping out. And I have a real passion for education around digital marketing because one of two things happens. People are teaching that have never done it before, or people are just feeding you
Bullshit.
yeah, there you go.
You can
That's
say
exactly what okay, I was like, I don't know what the rules are here. Yeah, no, they're just feeding you straight shit. Like it's,
Yeah.
they're selling you a dream. And so I was really interested in getting and being a part of that and making sure that people were actually learning tangible skills that they could take into the workplace and be productive. And so I worked on that, and then eventually they were like, we're going to need someone to teach these classes probably. And I was like, yeah, probably. I guess I could do it. So that transition was mostly because I wanted to go off and do my own thing. Like I have a very entrepreneurial spirit, and very self-motivated. And so you can't really, at least at the agency I was at, there was really like, you can't take on extra work. It's not very like ethical in that sense, because they worked with just about anyone. So it's not like, oh, pick the clients they want to take. I mean, they would work with just about anyone. Yeah. So by leaving the agency, I was kind of able to start working with more people that I wanted to work with.
Yeah.
While also teaching. And teaching has been so much fun. It's so fun to see people like catch on to things. And I actually bring clients in and have them talk to clients and stuff, and like watching them interact with clients is the coolest thing. They
Oh,
start like
yeah.
talking strategy and you're like, oh, I taught you something, holy
Yeah.
shit. That's really cool. It's really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's good.
definitely.
It gives them real world experience too, somewhat,
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Yeah, you
Hmm.
need that. I feel like that's what's missing in universities for most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
why I like tech schools. I mean, I went to university myself, but I like the way that I like the way that tech schools make it a little more like real life experience, like real world experience. I
Absolutely,
guess.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's what's missing from our education system.
Well, they need the hands-on experience, and
Yeah,
you don't
Yeah.
get that. Like, we can talk all day about concepts and strategies and stuff, but like if you're not working with the business one-on-one, then it's really difficult to, teach
Yeah.
some. Like, I could teach concepts and stuff, but like if I'd rather have them come and sit down with me and like talk about it and
Right.
actually have some tasks or a plan, somewhat of a plan, after we've already talked. And that's part of, I think, a lot of why people don't even invest the time or the money into even figuring out what the best way is, because they're like, I don't even know where to start. And
Yeah.
I can't get,
Right.
I'm gonna have to pay $3,000 a month or 10,000, depending on
Mm-hmm.
who they work with, and that's part of, I think, what hope will change with this new, um we're kind of in a new normal, because yes, we're all
Yeah.
kind of on lockdown right now, but now people are like, okay, I really need to like look at the things that I can improve on. And like, even
Mm-hmm.
for me, I'm sure that you guys have worked on stuff that was on your table for like a while,
Yeah.
like in the last week. I'm like, oh, I have to update my email automation download. And I did,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, well, this is the time now. If I need to provide a resource, like I need to make sure it's uploaded or updated.
Yeah.
So,
I have students. I actually have a student that just reached out to me and she was like, hey, like I have this idea of kind of like a downloadable, like calm during COVID worksheet. And so I kind of like walked her through the steps of creating just like a Squarespace site. But then she was like,
mhm,
well, then because they're in their SEO class right now, and she was like,
mhm,
well, now I could do link building and like, set all these things up. And I'm like, yeah,
mhm,
absolutely. This is giving people the time, and
mhm.
it's a good distraction too, I think, to
Yeah.
focus on these other projects. So it's giving them um, the opportunity to do that while
Mhm,
also, like I said, giving them real world
mhm,
experiences. So I'm talking to the clients that the students create their first semester, they create a digital marketing strategy. And
mhm.
so I'm like talking to those clients like, okay, we're going to have to do this over Zoom, but like it's not that unrealistic. Like Chris, you just said you have most of your meetings via Hangouts, and like
yeah,
that's just going to be
The
part
thing
of it.
now. Yeah.
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 Um,
Well, I
Go
mean,
ahead.
and I'm so surprised. Like, I put a LinkedIn post about this, I think last week. Like, I'm just so surprised that it took this to actually show us that technology
Yeah.
is out there for us to work remotely. Like, I've been wanting to do this for like the past few years for sure. Like, I think the first time I started a company, it was in 2015. So, like 5 years ago, like
Mhm.
these tools were available. All of these
Yeah,
Yeah.
tools.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's, and I saw something, or I don't know where I was reading it or what, I don't know. I've been watching so many lives and Zooms and everything, just to like keep my knowledge up, if I can
Yeah.
learn a new skill and like really
Yeah.
listen to what people are asking for. Like, people are asking for how to go digital, and like how to figure out, like, I've seen people like, I can't get on Zoom, and I'm like, how do you not, like, this is so normal for us, right?
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
how do you, and just
Yeah.
really tapping into like what people are needing. And I think,
Yeah. Try going
it'll
into like a government institute, like
mhm.
you just or
Well, and
banks.
they're like, I have a lot of teacher friends like that teach young kids, and they're concerned
Yeah.
about privacy. And you're like
Yeah.
thinking, okay, like, can we create something like this that's like super private, like Messenger for kids, but like with video, and like, you're just like, my
Definitely.
ideas brain is like, woo, yeah, like, but I
Yeah.
don't have enough time or resources. But I
Yeah.
I think it's a great time for us who are all digital, but also we have to
Mm-hmm.
understand that we are in a weird time, and people are sensitive to like the entire pandemic, but also like their businesses might fail. Like they might
Yeah.
be in like a month, like have no money. I'm hearing of so many layoffs. Like a lot of my friends
Yeah.
are like filing for unemployment, and it's tough because also you want to help. Like I want to help people figure this out, but also my time is super valuable too. Like
Yeah.
I don't
Absolutely.
want to get burnt out. So what do you, I mean, Brie, I'd like to know, like, what are you working on like the next like week or two? Do you have any like
Oh, geez. Everything. I mean,
Yeah.
everything. I actually am doing more training videos.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm trying to build my YouTube channel. So,
Mhm.
and people have asked for them, and it's just now I have time and equipment to do it. So,
Mhm.
I'm going to be doing a lot more of those.
Mhm.
But really, I'm trying to focus on, I mean, just professionally speaking, like trying to focus on being flexible with my students and having the availability that they're going to need.
Mhm.
I'm very lucky that my job can transfer fully remotely pretty easily.
Mhm.
Not my students, the students that I serve, being a tech school, the students that I serve, not all of them have the same opportunity.
Mhm.
I have students that work for 911 dispatch that work third shift. I have students that work manufacturing jobs for aerospace and they're required to work during this. So I'm
Mhm.
having to figure out how can I make myself available while also, some of them teaching them how to Zoom and teaching them how to do these things, but knowing that I'm preparing them for if this situation were to happen or something similar, that they're going to
Mhm.
have a better life because of it.
Right.
And then just writing a lot. I write all of the time,
Mhm.
all of the time. So just
Yeah.
writing a
I
lot.
Yeah, I could
Y-
definitely identify. Chris, what are you working on like to kind of during this time? Are you
like
changing any
project.
of your routines? No, I mean like now that like we're all kind of, I mean your situation's normal, right? Like you
Yeah,
said.
like
Like
nothing's changed. um, yeah, I don't. What
Well,
we're
I
trying
know.
to do, we're trying to build a product now to help restaurants because a lot of them are
Mhm.
shutting down, and a lot of them don't even know how to, don't have any like online order pickups or just by phone. And so
Mhm.
we're trying to. I mean, that's probably like the only thing we're trying to focus on,
Yeah.
trying to help out.
Yeah.
But as far as our process and how things are done,
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of different resources I think out there, and I think it's just also, it could also be mindset things. Like Chris, I know you
Yeah.
thrive in like a remote space, but like do you and are you going to miss like human interaction? Like can
oh,
you get on
definitely,
more virtual, like we always meet before this. We can't do that anymore. So like we have to do video calls to kind of check in and
definitely.
making, and that I think is also, if you already good with like the digital stuff, you're good, right? You don't need to do all this. But
Yeah.
now, like, what about human interaction, meditation, mindset, like stuff like that? I think
I
Well,
mean,
that's
I don't
yeah,
know about you, but I've been locked in a house with my wife for about a week now.
you guys need some
I'm
boxing
getting
gloves.
plenty of human interaction.
yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean we try so right before this actually that's what my wife was talking to me while we were on the call earlier.
Yeah.
We went out for a walk. Like this is so silly, but we went out for a walk and there are like all these worms in the water. So my wife started picking up worms so we could go fishing later. Like we could easily go
Nice.
buy worms, but for her like that's what she needed at the time. I'm like, all right, cool, collect the worms, I guess, and just hold
Yeah.
them. I don't know. But we make a point to like get outside or
Mhm.
so it doesn't feel like we're stuck within
Yeah.
these four walls here.
Mhm.
And I think that's really important too, is like making sure, just like we said, like you have to have like that routine, like blocking things
Mhm.
off. Like every day at lunch we go for a walk, and every night
Mhm.
before bed we do yoga, just because like we have to have something to kind of like get us away from all of the craziness, and that's going to look
Right.
different for everyone. I've seen people doing really intricate paint by numbers, like adult versions of paint by numbers. I would tear that shit to shreds. It would drive me bonkers, but for some
Yeah.
people it helps them.
Right.
Good for
Right.
them.
Well, you know
Yeah.
what? Like, I don't know if it's a culture thing, but like, I don't know if you guys seen those videos of like Italy or people in Europe doing like DJing or
Yeah.
musicians like from their balconies, and like they're building like a community still. Like they're more closer
Yeah.
integrated with each other than I think we are
Yeah,
here as a
absolutely.
community. And I kind of wish I was out there right now, because I would love something like that. Like out
Yeah.
here, we're really like distant from each other.
I did see a video of somebody teaching a Zumba class from their back porch and people doing it, which was
Oh, that's
really cool. I
cool.
thought that was awesome. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that is
no, we
awesome.
do. We have as a country we're very spaced out, and
Mhm.
our communities are very spaced out
Yeah.
for the most part too, and that's why you see like we are more disconnected from one another. And I think this is
Mhm.
forcing us to. I mean, when you have nobody else to talk to than the people you check in with, you're
Right.
forced to check in with people and
Yeah, I
build those
think my dog is
relationships.
like going nuts that I'm
Yeah.
home.
The
Like my
pets
dog
are
Yeah,
is
like,
like,
so was
dude, can
"Why
you
mine.
are you
shut up?
here?" Yeah.
like,
"Why are you here?"
why are
Like,
you petting me so much? Like, leave me
Every time
alone.
I
Like,
put
come on,
shoes
chill.
on, my dog like runs into her
Uh,
kennel like, "Yes, peace out." And I'm like, "No, sorry, man.
"You're gonna stay here."
My
Yeah.
bad."
Uh,
so for your students, what do you think is important for them to thrive online?
To thrive online, well, I think just in general, like they have to be willing to pivot and to constantly be learning, especially because I mean their profession is going to be digital marketing, hopefully. Like I tell them on day one, like if you're not ready to learn every single day and change every single day, then this isn't going to be for you because our worlds change so frequently, and then we end up in situations like this, and you still have to learn to pivot, just like we were talking about with social media management. Like, yeah, it may have been okay to schedule your posts, but to,
mhm.
like as of 2 weeks ago, you have to look at every single post before it goes out because
Mhm.
the world is changing so quickly right now.
Mhm.
So for me, the biggest thing is like teaching them where to find the tools and how to use the tools
Mhm.
to stay educated and stay on top of everything. I'm like
Hmm.
honestly, I'm teaching them foundational skills, but it's up to them to hone in
Mhm.
on them.
Yeah. And I think we were talking about that before we went live about how people now want to go virtual and then they're like, "Oh, we'll just go
Yeah.
live tomorrow." And I'm like,
No. Mm-mm.
okay, like who's going to be on and have I learned about them? And like there's a lot of
Yeah.
different aspects that, now hopefully people will one be and they're foundational things. They're not because
Yep.
you're going live now. Like you still have to know about who you're talking to and like what value you're providing to people,
Right.
and that's part of the relevancy and transparency and authenticity
Yeah.
that is the formula for going on social. So I think hopefully that'll change people's minds eventually. But
Yeah. Hopefully.
we're all kind of, I mean, like I'm for me things have changed for, just people wanting to stay active but not knowing how to without continually sending that same email about,
Right.
okay, COVID, right? Like how many
Right.
emails did we get about that? Like
Oh my
every
God, so
single,
many from people that you didn't even know had your email address.
right.
You're like, I don't really, didn't really need to know that, but thank you.
Yeah.
But two, like, again, being, making sure when you are sending those things out, like, you have to be, okay, so what happens if somebody sends out, they're like, okay, well, everybody's sending these and they're saying they're taking care of their employees and they're taking these precautions, right? So they just have like this blanket template and then they
Mhm.
send it out while meanwhile they have 100 workers working in a 1,200 square foot place. Like they're gonna
Mhm.
get called out for that, and they're gonna, their employees are definitely gonna say something. So again, it's just like remembering you have to be like
Mhm.
authentic with those. You can't just do it because everyone else is doing it and assuming
Mhm.
like everybody's sending out this COVID email, like I have to send it
Hmm.
out too. Like not necessarily. Like you might, but like what
Mhm.
are you going to say? What is the actual purpose? Is it relevant to anyone? Like if Chris
Mhm.
sent out an email and was like, don't worry, COVID has come along and we're taking care of our employees, like dude, you've always worked from home, everybody's
Yeah.
always been remote, like of
Yeah.
course you're working from home, you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like
I think
just
you
take those things into
just be
consideration.
mindful. Like I haven't sent one of those emails, but also
Yeah.
I am a little, like I'm trying to be mindful of what I share.
Yeah.
If you're going to go live, answer these questions and then decide what if you're going to go live or if you're going to
Yeah.
record it.
Right.
And and just like, okay, use Zoom or use StreamYard or use these other tools, and you're still being relevant to the times and providing value, but
Yeah.
and it's authentic because it's what I know, but it
Yep.
doesn't always align with what I have been saying. And I think, some people, would you rather say something that's like
Yeah.
cookie cutter or say nothing? Like,
Well, that's where
Right.
the
this, yeah,
I can't even say the word authenticity comes in.
we need to change
Right?
that
Part of
word
art,
because everyone
Yeah.
talks about it.
Right.
I mean, that's where it comes into play. I think that's another reason, for example, this podcast is why we call it the business AF, is because we wanted it to be as authentic as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because we're not just about business,
Mhm.
we're all individuals here, and we all have
Yeah.
our own personalities, right? We all have
Mhm.
our own characteristics.
Mhm.
Everything makes us different and unique. And I want to see that. Like, for example, Brie, like from what I see, like, you're a cool person. I've only
I
known you
try.
for like
She's cool.
31
Yeah.
minutes, but I mean, you seem down to earth, and like you're authentic and trying to help your students. And I think it's important for people to see that. And this is a platform to showcase that,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
could easily just make it cookie cutter like everyone else, but it seems like you're trying to
Yeah.
do your due diligence and
Mhm.
really trying to make it authentic, not just for yourself, but also for people around you.
Right. And I
You
like
know?
what you said there, that like we all have things that make us unique and different, like as people. And like the biggest thing that I try and tell brands that I consult with, or I tell people when I'm consulting on social media or anything
Mhm.
like that, is like you have to think of your brand as if it were a person. Like
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
brands that do the best, that have the best community, that have the most loyalty, are the ones that treat their brand as if it were a person. They take a stand on things. They're not like, oh, well, if we say this, we might exclude this group of people. Like, no, they take a stand. They're like, okay, well, according to our mission statement and our value statement, yeah, no, we think that everybody should be working from home. And they're not afraid to say that, right? Like,
Mhm.
you you build a brand that is like essentially like we build personas and we put a picture to it, right? Like if you're
Mhm.
going to build a brand, you should also be putting a picture to it.
Mhm.
Like one of my favorite exercises is like, okay, draw me a picture of what you think your brand would be if it was a person. And
Mhm.
no, but really,
It's
like
true.
if
Yeah.
my brand, my people would be wearing backwards hats, all of them. It'd be great.
Yeah. I
When
should
they
have.
get one.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I love wearing backwards hats. I'm like,
but
oh
I think
man.
that's true. Like, for example, I had a client,
Mm.
it was like a couple of months ago, and we just started one of their projects, and I was doing their branding process in the beginning, like just to do a logo design. And I asked them, I said, describe to me your company and your brand as if it was a person. How do you introduce
Yeah.
yourself? Because it's a personality thing.
Mhm.
Like,
Yep.
business owners may not, or people that aren't involved in branding or marketing may not understand that, but it's
Mhm.
it's a key element to a brand,
Oh yeah, it's
definitely.
Absolutely.
foundational
I,
stuff because
yeah,
it's same with like how you're going to create your strategy. Like,
yeah,
what voice are we using? How are we, what is the feel of this person? And I think a lot of people, they just, oh, let me go on social. And then you're
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, like, let's backtrack and figure out
Yeah.
what the
Or
best
they give
way.
it to the
Yeah.
college intern of the semester,
Yeah.
and the voice changes every semester. You're like,
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
happens a
yeah,
lot.
I think, it's really awesome, one, to get your insight, Bree, on this, because you are teaching the next generation of
yeah,
people that, will come into the workforce, or that maybe not even the workforce, they're going to start their own businesses because of the
Hopefully.
current climate. I mean, I see that all the time, and I think, people are fascinated by the idea of creating their own business, but they don't understand the concepts or the foundation that they need to lay
Right.
before they actually do business.
correct.
So hopefully we'll be able to give all those. Chris, you have something to say?
I had a thought since you brought that up. So I thought I want to get your guys' outlook on this.
Mhm.
So I was thinking to myself, like, we're in a place where everyone's working remotely. So essentially, it's almost like you are an individual working for yourself. You're still like in an umbrella.
Right.
But I was thinking, this can show people, or maybe people realize that we can be decentralized as a unit, but still have the same
Yeah.
goal for a
Mhm.
business. So you can still be your own individual and be your own business and be contracted and work
Mm-hmm.
for people and
Mhm.
still have like the same goal in line and try to help them with their product. But
Mhm.
essentially, you don't have
Yep.
to be an employee anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of shows you can just do your own thing. And
Yeah, I think
Contractors are the future.
yeah,
yeah,
I see so many like job postings for like freelance work.
Yeah.
And, if, some of my clients are like I'm a freelance for them and some of them I'm a consultant for them. It really just
Mm-hmm.
the only way that for us to really get through this, I think, is just to is to know our boundaries, set that routine, and then also when we're talking about our business, be authentic. Like
Yep.
I think being hidden behind the computer screen, I think, will be a fear of people, or like people now start be on video, hopefully. Like I'm
Yeah.
hoping that this now happens. And it's hard. I think people like, whoa, why do I need to be on video? I'm like, because that's how you build trust. That's
Right.
how you build relationships with people. And we've done it in person, Brie. Like I had lunch with you, and that's how we got to know each other. But like, let's
Yeah.
have lunch together virtually and get to know each other and understand. And that, I think, is a new way of how we're going to do business now, and people are really going to thrive. Hopefully, it's my goal once we can
Yes.
get outside.
Well, it's all about, those boundaries don't just include like your routine. It's like, like Chris was saying, if we're going to decentralize, like a big part of that is like knowing your strengths and know what you're
Hmm.
good at and don't take on that work that's outside of that, right? Like people ask
Hmm.
me, oh, can you make me this? Like, I'm not a graphic designer, I'm not a web designer. I can do SEO, but you don't want me touching the back end of your website, right? Like,
Yeah,
things can get a little, that scares me.
might
So,
break the site. Yeah, yeah.
right. So that's when I say, okay, I can't do that, but I do have a friend,
Hmm.
that I trust, a contractor that I trust that can do this
Hmm.
work. So like if you're interested, I can, build
yeah.
that in and know, but it's being transparent about like I can get it
Mhm.
done, but I'm going to, offload that to someone else that I trust,
Yeah.
right? And if you already have that trust with your client, they should trust your expertise and knowing that
Hmm.
it's going to get done and it's going to get done well. So that yeah, maybe we are all independent contractors and we can all work, all
Hmm.
work together still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely I've had plenty of experiences with that because I've been in digital marketing for so long, and
Yep.
I do understand SEO, but I wouldn't touch it for the life of me just because I don't, that's not my forte, and it's
Yeah.
like I think, this will be a time now for us to really focus on that and build up that community virtually of like, okay, who are these trusted resources? Like if someone asks me about Facebook ads, I know exactly who to go to. And
Yep.
then if that person's not available, I know the second person, like because of building those relationships, So I it's an unprecedented time for us, but I think a
Yeah.
hopeful time for everyone. So, Chris, we have that random question, and it's your turn to ask it. Do you have one?
Let
Or
me think. I will come
okay,
up.
I have
Oh,
one if you don't.
I asked this last time. Damn it. Ah,
Okay,
this would have been good for this one.
I
Yeah, go for yours then.
okay. So, Bree, just so you know, our show ends with and asking a random question, and
Okay.
just to get to know you a little bit, give a little bit of personality. And this one's a little relevant to right now. So since we're all working from home, what's the first thing that you're gonna do once you can go outside and see people and hang out?
Go to Leslie's, my favorite coffee shop.
Yes, I
You
was
can
Oh, you in
ask
wondering
San
just
about that.
about
Diego?
No, no.
no, different one.
Oh,
You can ask just about any marketer in Wichita. They know that if they need to find me, I'm probably at Leslie's. So
Okay.
th- today is their last day being open, so I will be
oh,
making an afternoon run for my
Nice.
last takeout coffee because they shut down officially tomorrow.
Oh man,
oh man.
that'll be rough. So
I know, so
we'll
sad.
definitely, when you're back in San Diego, we'll visit all the coffee shops.
Yes, we
And
have to.
when either of us go to Wichita, who knows? That's always possible, right? Anything's possible. We'll
I'm gonna
definitely.
get at least one of you to Wichita, so
Okay. I think you and like five other people need
yeah.
me to go to Wichita, so we'll see
Oh,
how that works out.
Kansas, right?
Yep.
Yep.
I would not.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to go to Kansas for some
All right,
reason.
come on
Oh.
then.
Like I just want to go out there, just see something different.
Well, now you know Bree, so you can
Yeah.
reach out to her. So,
Um.
one,
Cool.
if people want to get a hold of you, Bree,
Yes.
where should they look for you? On LinkedIn?
Just Google Brie Anderson. I do
Okay.
SEO, so I show up. I promise. You can
Okay.
just Google it.
Yeah.
My
Okay.
Twitter and my
Google me.
LinkedIn are where I'm most active, but I do a weekly YouTube series now where I just kind of go over, I analyze the things that have gone on in digital marketing and how they're going to affect us moving forward in the future. But yeah, just Google me. I'll be there.
I'm gonna add you on LinkedIn right now.
Awesome.
All right.
Anderson.
Thank you for joining us, Bree. We really appreciated the chat about the art of social and how we're adjusting to digital. And thank you. And we'll see you again virtually sometime
See you in
soon.
Wichita.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.